In today's warm-up, we're going to be writing expressions, of course, using let statements, and then we're going to substitute in for those variables. Okay, so here we are told that we are going to be writing 4 expressions using the let statements. We're only going to use one variable. So here's our situation. Isa spent $21 more than Natalie at the math store. Oh, I love the math store. It's my favorite place. Anyway, Isa spent $21 more than Natalie. So that tells me we need to start with Natalie. So we're going to have let n equal the amount of money Natalie spent at the math store. We know Isa spent $21 more than Natalie, so we're going to start with what Natalie spent. $21 more means we add to it, so it's n plus 21 equals the amount of money Isa spent. Austin spent twice as much as Isa, even though he wanted to spend more. Obviously, I always want to spend far more at the math store. So Austin spent twice as much. That means we multiply. We multiply what Isa spent, which is this. So that means we need to put that inside a parentheses because it's going to be done first. So it's 2 times the quantity of n plus 21 equals the amount of money Austin spent. Okay. Now the final thing is that we need to find the total. I know that I find a total by adding. I'm going to add each of the expressions that I've already written. So I'm going to have let n, that's how much Natalie spent, plus n plus 21, that's how much Isa spent, plus 2 times the quantity of n plus 21, that's how much Austin spent, and that equals the total amount spent at the math store. Math store. Okay, so now let's see what's next. We've written our 4 expressions here, all with let statements, of course. We find out that Natalie spent $35, so that tells us n equals 35. So I'm simply going to substitute in for each of my expressions that I wrote. So I'm going to rewrite each of the expressions. I'm going to remember that n is equal to 35. I indicate that on each of them, that n is equal to 35. And then I'm going to substitute in every time I see an n. So in this case, Natalie spent $35 because that's a simple straight substitution. Then I've got 35 plus 21. 30 plus 20 is 50. 5 plus 1 is 6, so that's $56 that Isa spent. Substitute in here, n times the quantity of 35 plus 21. I know I do what's inside parentheses first. 35 plus 21 is 56. I'm multiplying that times 2. 2 times 50 is 100. 2 times 6 is 12. So that's $112 that Austin spent. Now, there's how much each person spent. But to find that total, I'm going to write my expression that I wrote for the total. So that's n plus 21 plus 2 times the quantity of n plus 21. And then I'm going to substitute in n equals 35 every time I see an n. So I've got 35 plus 35 plus 21 plus 2 times the quantity of 35 plus 21. Order of operations tells me parentheses first, so that's this right here. 35 plus 21 is 56. Then I bring down the rest of my problem. Exponents, there's none of those, so parentheses and exponents are done. Multiplication and division in order from left to right. So that means I have to do this multiplication. 2 times 56 is 112. Bring down the rest of my problem. And then I do addition and subtraction in order from left to right. I only have addition, which means that gives me some flexibility here. I can actually do this to make my life easier. 35 plus 35 is 70, plus 21 plus 112. Well, 112 plus 1 more is 113, plus 20 more would be 133. And then I add those together. I know 130 plus 70 is 200, plus another 3 is $203 in total.